and welcome to Two Words Wolves Pod. I'm Ron Acton, and with me is Brandon Beck from Crunch Wears No Pants. Brandon, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I feel like is this my third time on the show? I think this is the best things have been going of the times that I've been on the show.
Yeah, it's always good to. I remember last season, Travis, the Seeker reporter, just absolutely like the Wolves schedule or how the games. Every time he would come on, it was uncanny. I don't know what games last year stood out. They lost like 4 in a row to Sacramento or something. Like every time I'd bring him on, it was just like a death blow to whatever the vibes were. So I don't remember that with your previous experiences, but certainly it things in Wolvesland are going about as well as they have all season.
I think last time I was on, they had just played that first Pelicans game where they did like the back-to-backs against the Pelicans, and they like won that game in overtime, but everyone was super pissed about it because they played horrible.
Then that if we had done this pod 2 days ago, I think would have been a similar vibes after they kind of eke out a win against Memphis. At least in that game, Ant scores 41 points. Those last two kind of hunting for him, which kind of opened the door for Memphis. But like you mentioned, I thought the win against the Raptors on Thursday night, I thought it's not their best win in terms of like beating Denver on the road. Even an injured Denver on the road is a quote unquote better win or whatever, but just like start to finish performance. And especially if you just lop off the first like 5 minutes where they're down 12 or whatever, I thought it was as like professional performance, like look, the Raptors are 35 and 27, like a solid playoff team. They're going to be in the top 6 in the East and they'll probably lose in the first round, but like they're a solid playoff team. I mean, certainly kind of think about this. Toronto is the type of team right now that all of us about like 5, 6, 7 years ago would have killed the Wolves to be, right? Like they're a solid team, and the Wolves basically just absolutely destroyed them from start to finish. And not even in like if Ant scores like 55 points, like that's one thing, but like it was just like from top to bottom on the roster was a perfect performance almost. And I thought like the pure vibes in the third quarter were bring on you from your podcast, which is often about vibes, right? I thought they were as high as they've been. Like Ant's hitting Naz with behind the back passes. I think Rudy had a behind the back dribble pass to Naz out, and he's like shooting the 3-point celly to the bench. Like it was as fun, I think, as Target Center has been on a night this season.
Yeah, I think I agree. Like I think that was kind of, as Timberwolves fans, we're kind of conditioned to as things start to go well to kind of brace ourselves for the disappointing game to happen. And I think that was kind of in the first half of that Memphis game a few days ago. I think a lot of people were feeling that. They kind of bounced back and eked that one out. And now they have this kind of stretch of 5 games here before they play Oklahoma City again, where it's all games that I think they're probably going to be favored in, like by a Vegas line, but all games that they're going to be favored in by like 3 or 4 or 5. Sure. Like the type of games that they can lose, but you're not like pulling your hair out if they do lose. And I thought Toronto like came out and really like punched him in the mouth in the first like half of the first quarter. And it kind of felt like, you know, they're a type of team that the Wolves typically will struggle with too, like these really, really physical kind of get after you, everybody's flying around teams. But yeah, after that, once Ayo really checked in the first quarter, kind of woke them up. And then, like you said, the third quarter, I was joking in our group chat, like if this was happening to the Timberwolves, Wolves Twitter would have been on fire about Chris Finch not calling a timeout. Like I'm not really sure how it got to that point momentum wise before Toronto kind of put a stop to it, because it was like haymaker after haymaker after haymaker. And then it's like, and posterizing a guy, and now he's throwing behind the back passes, and Rudy's doing crazy dribble things. And it's like, you got to step in and stop this dude.
Yeah, there's some runs over the course of the game where it's like more methodical, where it's just like it's a quiet, like just like it's not like there was any big run, but it's just like you scored twice every time they scored once, and you went from up 2 to up 20 or whatever. This was the opposite of that. This was loud between the Ant dunks, the threes, it was just it was a loud slap in the face.
the crowd was just like on fire. And it was like,
Mhm.
usually, sometimes it's like you don't do it after the first one, but you do it after the second one. But this got to like the fourth, fifth, sixth, like the crowd keeps getting louder. And I'm like, how are they just giving up? What is happening?
I will mention the loudest crowd pop of the night was when Brandon Ingram missed 2 free throws for the chicken. I will
It
state
always
that.
is.
It always is. They played I said this on Dukewich's show last night. They played the chicken dance after that, right? We'll never forget game 6 against Denver, where they played the chicken dance and Luka Garza, as the chicken dance is going, hits a shot to put the Wolves up 50. And like the Jokic meme or whatever, he's standing on the court and all the Nuggets fans are like, oh, he's locked in for the next time. He's like, no, he'd just been sitting down for a while and wanted to stand up. Like there's no deeper meaning.
And it just makes it like, that's like such a legendary clip now without the context of what's going on, because nobody understands like that the Wolves play the chicken dance after 2 missed free throws. So it's just Luka Garza hitting a 3-pointer to put the Wolves up 50 with the chicken dance playing in the background. And then the crowd goes nuts.
And then 2 days later, the team plays what ends up being like the greatest game in the history of the franchise, or at top 2 or whatever you want to do. Like, Kyle Anderson coming back, maybe the best thing about that is like, basically, I think about this. I don't remember what team, some sports team, someone came back, they left in free agency, and I think it was a baseball team, and they booed this player relentlessly, and they'd won a title with this player previously. And I just thought to myself, if any of my teams ever won a title, every single player on that team would be like the greatest
Stamped
thing
for life.
Yeah. And the 23-24 team is kind of like that in a lot of ways. And so Kyle Anderson coming back, we'll talk about, I think he's going to and did and has played like a legitimate on-court role. But like, even if it was like a token signing, I just think like that's fun in and of itself to like just bring back like, I mean, can we, I don't think Monte Morris is on a team. Like, even if we don't have the Wolves don't have a roster.
Monte Morris kind of stinks. So
yeah, and I don't think he enjoyed his time in Minnesota all that much. But like, almost like anyone from that team, Troy Brown Jr. Like, I bring back anyone from that team, and it's going to be fun.
I agree. Yeah, I mean that is. I think until they go further, I think that is kind of the standard for Timberwolves vibes. Like historically, like that was the season that everyone was feeling good about everything.
Yeah. Oh, the month of November that season too, where they went 13-2, or so they set the wins record, regular season Timberwolves wins record. I've been thinking about that a lot because I kind of did some research about just the Kyle Anderson signing when he signed for a piece on Canis, and I think that was like that month of November with that team was like the biggest, like, because the previous, like, I think we knew like Anthony Edwards at the time was going to be really good. Wolves are going to be in the playoffs for a long time, but like, that was the first month we go, oh no, this team, maybe not this year's team, but like this franchise with this, they can win the title. Like they are as good as anyone. And so I think that's as much as why that team is special. And it's any team with sports, it's like the first team that like overperforms and gets there. Like this San Antonio team will probably always be like their favorite, and unless and when they win the title, like that'll surpass it obviously. But like, watch San Antonio next year. They're gonna win like high 50s this year, right? Watch them win like 52 next year, and like their fans will just be miserable when like the 2 years prior, like their team was tanking away.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's kind of like, I think that kind of ties with like this Timberwolves season in a lot of ways, because and I understand all the context, and I think it's been ugly at a lot of points this season, and they have dropped a lot of games that they probably should have won at different points. Like the Julius Randle experience has been really up and down. I understand all of that, but then you zoom out and they're 40-23.
Yeah.
And it just seems wild to me that the Minnesota Timberwolves can be 40-23, third in the Western Conference. And we can say that most of the season, the fan base has been largely unhappy with the product.
Yeah. And we'll state, like, they have won 8 of their last 9 games. So it was like, it's been trending towards this. And what's been weird is that a lot of their wins, I've felt through most of the season, have been like, they didn't play all that great, but they snuck it out. You met the best example of this were those 2 New Orleans games earlier in the year where they just, that was but also at this point in the season, Finch said this after the game yesterday and kind of talked about it at practice today too. It's like it's getting to the point of this season where there isn't any more bad wins left, in the sense of like, you kind of know what this team is. Obviously, we're still trying to figure out exactly what Ayo can be, like what the 100% version of Ayo. They're integrating Kyle Anderson. Like there's still question marks, obviously, but like we're 90% sure of what this team is. And so at this point, you're just kind of, you're looking to improve in XYZ area, but like there isn't going to be like the wins are just as important as anything at this point in the year.
Yeah, I agree. And with the fact, like I said, they're sitting at third place right now. And so if they can continue to close strong, and I mean, they're not going to get any higher than that. Like they're not catching San Antonio. So if they can finish third, I think that puts them in a really good spot going into the postseason. And despite, like I said, that the fact that they've kind of had like they're really hitting their stride now, but they've been largely like, people have been kind of disappointed by the team earlier this season. I think they're in a pretty good spot as far as I don't look at the playoff bracket and think they're going to be favored in every potential matchup. But I don't look at any team on the board as like, I do not think the Timberwolves as currently constructed can beat them if things break right. And, if they finish third, that puts them in the bracket on the opposite side of Oklahoma City, more than likely, unless they really fall apart here now that Shea's back and the Spurs continue to go on a run. Like that could shake out differently, but it's probably going to put them on the side of the bracket with San Antonio, who, as good as they have played this year, they are young. That'll probably put them playing like the Lakers or like maybe the Suns in the first round. Like the bracket stacks up pretty nice for them if they can hold on to third place here. And then like if they get to another Western Conference Finals, like they've played well against Oklahoma City this year. Like I don't think they'd be favored in that series, but I don't think there's anyone that I'm like, oh, please, for the love of God, don't make the Timberwolves play them in the playoffs.
Yeah, especially with, I mean, I think the biggest frustrations I've had with the team this season is just the underperformance given the awesome level of health that they've had. And especially prior to this recent win streak, it's like you looked up at the standings and it's like they were behind the Lakers who had been missing like Luka or Reeves for large parts of the season. Certainly like Denver's just been ravaged by injuries. Houston is missing their starting point guard and center. And it's just like, why are these teams above you when you've had a perfect level of health, basically, aside from a few ant games here and there? And so the minute they pass those teams, like that frustration kind of goes away now, where it's like, yeah, they should have 2, 3, 4 more wins than they have now. Like, just, I keep track of like I look at like the Vegas money line and like ascribe like a win probability using that number, right? And then you add up the win probabilities to get like what theoretically their win shows, and they're like 3 behind it. But like ultimately, if they had 3 extra wins, they'd be in this same exact spot they are now. Maybe they'd have a chance to catch San Antonio in that sense, but like I think we're picking nits. I think at that point, if I'm frustrated by that.
And the crazy part is, like, I mean, Houston's never going to get healthy, right? Because their center and their point guard are out for the year. But the crazy part is those other teams, Denver and the Lakers, are now getting healthy, and they're playing the worst they've played all season. Like the Lakers finally have LeBron, Luka, and Reeves all playing together, and now they are playing like as bad as they've played all season. The Nuggets, like, granted, they haven't had their full host of guys. It sounds like Gordon's coming back tonight. But like the Nuggets got Jokic back, and it's been largely the same as when he was out. And so I think to some degree too, like the kind of like stasis that it feels like the Timberwolves were stuck in earlier in the season can even be kind of ascribed to that high level of health, because I think sometimes you get kind of like an injection of energy from a game being like a guy's shot. with 20 minutes a night versus like, I think this Timberwolves team is a little susceptible to getting bored. And I think that's why
Mhm.
they play so well in the playoffs. I think that's why they play so well usually down like the stretch in the last 20 games of the season, because they start to sense that these games matter. But when you are remarkably healthy and you're marching out the same top seven guys with maybe a different eighth, ninth guy like filtering in here and there, I think it makes sense that they might just kind of get bored by some of these games against teams that they just perceive themselves to be a lot better than. And it's just like, oh, we got to go out and do this again. Like, we're going to do the exact same thing like we always do. Like, we've got the same lineups and playing with the same guys and doing all the
Mhm.
same stuff.
Yeah, and I have gotten the sense, just being around the team a little bit, that like they're both like a moody group in at times, but also I think a confident group, obviously, especially at the top of the talent pecking order, right? And so I think they believe, like, obviously, if you ask them what seed do you want to be, well, the one seed, if not the one seed, the two seed, if not this blah, like they want the best seed. But I think they also kind of feel like we if I as long as we're top six, like they obviously value like the week off you get. I think they feel like as long as we're top six, doesn't much matter. We can beat any team. And like the frustration I kind of have is like, yeah, but some teams are harder to beat than others, and if you have to beat fewer of them, that's a good thing. But like I said, that you win 5 in a row, now you're the 3 seed. You're just like win out what you should, and you stick there. So that kind of that goes away, and it leaves like what do we think this team will look like in the playoffs? We got to look at what it looks like against an injured Denver. We'll see if they come back, but even against, I think just playing against a solid roster. I mean, at this point in the season, it's just like anytime you're playing a roster that's trying to win basketball games, you can it's more useful where, especially like March and late April, even like because obviously they finished the season with New Orleans, and New Orleans isn't trying to lose basketball games, but they also don't really have incentive to win the last game on April 12th. Like that game's not going to mean a whole lot. And even like who the heck knows on second to last game at Houston, who knows if
Yeah,
the Wolves want that game? Who knows if the Rockets want that game? Like, no clue.
yeah, and that really is like, you kind of plan things out, but yeah, once you get to like those last five and things really start to get locked in, it gets really, really weird shenanigans wise. Because even sometimes teams that are like have successfully avoided the play-in even start like tanking games to try to like jimmy
Mhm.
around playoff seeding to try to avoid opponents and stuff like that. Like, I don't know how much schedule watching you can do that far in advance. You just kind of got to take it in chunks.
Yeah. And I think at least this year, I would guess that teams aren't going like if you're the 5 seed, I don't think there's going to be much value in tanking down to 6 to get the Wolves. Like
I don't think
I
any of
don't
those.
really.
I think those teams. They talked about this on Dane's pod, I think yesterday, and maybe this is just Wolves goggles bias for me. I think Houston, Denver, and LA, if those teams could take their pick of like that, like the Wolves, Houston, Denver, LA group of like those four teams are probably going to play each other in the first round in some way, shape, or form. I think Houston, Denver, and LA would all choose the Wolves last as their potential first round opponent. Like, I mean, maybe the Lakers wouldn't choose Denver just because they have kind of like Denver demons in
Yeah.
their brain. But other than that, like, I think that their perception would be like, that team scares me more than any of these other like flawed, injured, but like I said, I could be wrong. I know Lakers fans have nightmares about Denver. So
Well, I mean, they didn't have much success against the Timberwolves last season either. And I mean, I don't watch a ton of Lakers, but like I'll be interesting. If that playoff matchup comes to be, I'll have one of the Laker bloggers on my podcast. Hopefully, like I'd be interested to ask him like, what if anything, what do you project could go better this time around than last season, if anything? Because like I don't know, watching the Lakers, they seem like almost more disconnected than last year's team did.
yeah, I mean, I think the Lakers are the classic question, and they've done this now for a handful of years in a row. So there is reason, I think, to believe that there may be some reason to support this, that it's not just random chance. But I mean, they have just drastically outperformed their net rating, and it's because they have this just like incredible record in clutch time in one possession games. And that might be because of just like the high level elite shot makers that they have in Luka and Reeves and LeBron, and that they're just uniquely positioned to play well in those clutch time games. But it's more likely, if you look at like a large history of the league, that what's actually happening is like they've just gotten really, really lucky to have as good of a record as they have. And they're probably more of like a play-in quality team than they are like a top 6 quality team. But they do have Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves and LeBron James, who are like 3 guys that each individually can like break a game offensively if it is their night. And I think that is a scary thing. But once you get to the playoffs, you're going to be playing teams that are good. So it's like you can't like be like, oh, I want to play the team that doesn't have any good players and has a terrible record. Like that doesn't exist once you get there.
Yeah, not anymore. There used to be like, I guess even like Phoenix is probably going to, is it at the very least, assuming they're healthy, it's going to like play hard. And assuming
I don't
they're
know.
healthy,
Dylan Brooks got arrested for a DUI today.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to take back my words as I was saying them a little bit, but yeah,
and they just lost Mark Williams too. Yeah, their kind of Cinderella run is
the dreams of them poking up above the Lakers are kind of dying on the vine, unfortunately. They have had an impressive season, but yeah, the Lakers are at the point where, I mean, LeBron, I highly doubt will be on the team next year, and they'll have all sorts of, you can already hear the Lakers media machine turning about their free agency and the trades they're going to make and all this, which I don't know, it's earned arrogance, at least from
I mean, they're just going to give most of that LeBron money to Austin Reeves. Like Reeves is making like, he's a free agent, he's making like 20 this year. He's going to get like 50. So like that's like almost, that's like half the LeBron money right there.
Yeah, have you seen, I would go, for anyone, go look up what completely brain fart with the Knicks point guard. Holy cow.
Brunson.
Go look at what Brunson's like extension is going to be on his next contract. It's a staggering, I think it's like $70 million a year from the start.
Oh wow, Reeves is making 14 million this year. So if he gets up to
back then, like 50, Bill Simmons had a complete like hissy fit because Reeves was a restricted free agent and he wanted someone to like put a proper offer in, so the Lakers had to actually match for more money, and no one did, and so Reeves ended up with this tiny number. But they're not going to get him on that type of contract.
LeBron's 50, got 52 this year, so he's going to walk. Like Reeves is going to get like 40, 45. Like he's going to get most of that LeBron money, and so then they're just going to have an more expensive Austin Reeves and no LeBron James. Like.
Yeah, I think
that cap space stuff dries up quickly.
They'll have maximum cap space, I believe, because they can wait to sign Reeves until after the free agent sign. I don't know how they'll have options, and the guy in Milwaukee, the Wolves trying to get, they'll be after him too. Although another poor story came out about Giannis Antetokounmpo today and his real estate investments and someone not having electricity in their building. So. That on top of the Kelce story, maybe it's all unfair to Giannis, but I don't know. A lot of weird Giannis stuff as of late. And I've said this before. I have a sneaking suspicion Giannis is going to sign an extension in Milwaukee. I have this weird thing that they're weird. They're gonna make like a double down on the cutting Lillard Turner kind of deals they did. I think they're gonna double down and do a similar type of like last ditch effort. And I don't know, like. I feel like if Giannis wanted to be gone from Milwaukee, he would have by now. But especially because like if he would have gotten traded at the deadline, the extension, he would have been like that cost him tens of millions of dollars not getting traded at the deadline versus getting traded in the offseason and then signing an extension with a new team.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. He's handled this thing very weird. I think he clearly doesn't. He clearly in his heart doesn't want to leave, but in his he wants to win, but he wants to win in Milwaukee, but he needs to come to grips with the fact that those are mutually exclusive options. And he can't really figure out which one he wants.
Yeah, when the Wolves beat them without who was missing, Rudy was out, and they
And
they
Ant.
just and yeah, that's right. Crap. I wrote like I wrote for a Timberwolves blog, and I basically just wrote a Bucks article. I was like, it's time. It's done. It's over. It's finished. It's finito. It's like just like I was almost not from Giannis to say. It's like Bucks. I think it's better for you to just move on. And
Yeah, but
they probably
they're going to be I mean, they're bad now, but the moment he's gone, like they don't have any of their picks. They're paying Damian Lillard $25 million for like the next 5 years. Like they're incentivized to just try to be as average as, like, to keep Giannis as long as possible and try to be as average as possible, because they don't really get anything from kickstarting a rebuild right now because they're so cooked with no matter what happens.
I get it. It almost feels like the Rubicon has been crossed, and it's just, but yeah, you're right that it's going to take Giannis requesting that move. And if the Wolves want him, I think it's going to take a further action from him, like basically pushing specifically a Wolves transaction, which the first part I don't think is very likely, and the second part is even less likely. Let's dive into the Toronto game specifically. I thought Ant was really, really good in this game, despite like 22 points, only 12 shots. But like, I just thought so often during these, or really not lately, but like a year or so ago, when teams would guard him with seemingly all five guys, and nowadays like just hard doubles, he would either just try to shoot through that or try to dribble around it. And all of that just feels like gone. And he just took everything the defense gave him, still scored 22 uber efficient 22 points on 8 of 12 shooting. Finch said at practice today that he'd wish he'd get to the line more. He didn't say that. He was mentioned that was about the officiating more than Ant shot die. But I think you tweeted this out, that it's gone under focused on just how good Anthony Edwards' season, specifically offensive season. I always kind of try to add that in his offensive season, how good it's been. And it's like, it's just such a bonus when your best scorer is scoring 29 points a night, uber efficiently. It's just such a bonus to every other portions of your offense, not just like you only need X amount of more points, but like it just makes it scoring easier for everyone else on the court.
Yeah, and so like you said, I think it's gone super under talked about. Like, we love Ant. We know Ant's good. We know Ant's the best player. The Timberwolves are where they are because they have Anthony Edwards. And I think we understand that. But I think sometimes we're just like, oh yeah, Ant's really good. Like, what he is doing this season is like historically good offensive production. So he's like a tick under 30 points per game on 61 true shooting. If he can average 30 points per game on 61 true shooting this season, which he needs to average basically 31 from here on out, which he's more than capable of. I mean, if you just remove that one game against the Pacers at the beginning of the season where he played 5 minutes and came out with an injury, he would be averaging these numbers. If he can do that, he would be the 13th player in the history of basketball to do that. And the 12 players who have done it are either in the Hall of Fame, a currently playing former MVP, or Luka Doncic. Like, these are historic. Like, it's Adrian Dantley, it's LeBron James, it's Michael Jordan, it's Stephen Curry, it's Kevin Durant, it's SGA, it's Jokic, it's Luka. Like, it is. I mean, maybe it's not Jokic. I don't know if Jokic has ever averaged 30, but I looked at the list when I did this. But so, like, historically good numbers, and then you can add a layer to it that he would only be the third player to ever do it at age 24, and the other players to do that are SGA and Luka. So it's not just that Anthony Edwards is having a great season; it's that he's having a historic season, and I think it's gone underappreciated with the frustrations with the rest of the team, and just because we've kind of just gotten so used to Anthony Edwards just continuing to get like 10% better every season, where it's like he had like the inefficiency stuff as a rookie, but since his rookie year, he has been kind of a wildly efficient scorer, and we just kind of haven't noticed that it's not just the volume that's been going up. Every year, the volume and the efficiency goes up. And it goes up like every year he averages 2 more points than he averaged the year before, and his true shooting goes up 3%. And it's just kind of kept doing that every season. And so if he continues to get better, like I've always said, I think it's kind of unfair to Ant that we constantly like compare the current version of Ant to the current version of Shea, where because Shea is older than him, but he's on pace with SGA, who is like probably going to win back-to-back MVP awards this season. And he just won the title last season. So it's like, that is like where this is trending for Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, and like when people do compare him to Shea, I think my contention is like, one, like regular season wise, Shea is just such a more consistent player from start to finish. And then there's like the other part is like the things that almost certainly will get better with Ant's game, because he's X number of years younger than SGA. Like I think his playmaking is solid, but like if you were to pick the nit with his offensive game, I think there's like playmaking stuff that he can always do better. It's not even really a criticism. It's just like, like no one is 99 overall and everything. Right. And then his defense, which I think consistency wise, I think isn't especially, and I get it. He's a super, like he has a large offensive load. Like I'm not asking, it's just, I think it's fair to say like he could show more defensive consistency night to night, not just when he's guarding the other team's best player or guarding the ball, like all that stuff. And Ant would tell you that himself. There was a game where he was just like not closing out like he properly should. I think it was the Philly game where they lost, and like he takes accountability for it. So like, I think like those are the spots you mentioned where he's a couple years younger than a guy like Shea, where I think those will start to come. And if you look at where Ant is at, especially like where Ant was at 22 compared to where Shea was at 22, it was like Shea was on not his fault, not a tanking Thunder team that was trying to lose games, and Ant was in the West Finals when the guys are in the same age group. Again, that's not Shea's fault, obviously, but like especially in terms of like all the soft factors, the leadership, the guts, the clutch, all that crap. Like Ant is just so far ahead of where pretty much every guard of the past like 20 years has been.
I mean, he just passed like Kobe in some stat that I saw. I don't even remember what the context is, but it was like
it was fifth youngest total points scored before your 25th. How old is Ant? 24th birthday?
He's 24.
Okay, so 25th birthday was the stat, and it was I looked at it. He won't get to first or second, but like he's going to get the third.
And he's just obliterating 3-point records, which are probably going to get obliterated by Con Knipple like in a few years, but like
especially if he keeps getting rides home, like keeps
exactly.
If podcast, is that how what if I give Ant a ride home? That
could be your ticket to be in the next Bill Simmons.
I can't explain how laughable. I mean, getting Ant on my podcast or on really any podcast sounds like an impossible feat, and then to offer him funny, truly hilarious stuff. He's just been incredible, and I did research before this season that was like how many teams have won a title like without either like a guy that had made first team All-NBA that season, or like 1 year the Lakers won the title and like Magic was second team. But like, okay, come on. It was like what it was the like classic the 04 thing.
Pistons.
It was the 04 Pistons were the only team that came up, and like weirdly, like the Isaiah Thomas Pistons, like for whatever reason, Isaiah Thomas hadn't made for, I don't know. It didn't make much sense.
Isaiah Thomas played at the same time as Magic, isn't it? Isn't that like the thing?
Yes. But he like didn't, the second title team, he wasn't on any of the All-NBA teams. I don't know what happened in 1990. But like even then, like we all know Isaiah Thomas is one of the, I don't know, pick your number, 40 greatest players ever or whatever.
Oh yeah. Isaiah Thomas, that's like, Isaiah Thomas is crazy. Like you go look at, he was like Steph for like a very brief portion of his career.
Yeah. And so like that was kind of my key for Ant this year. Just like be closer to the MVP talk or whatever than like where he was last year, where like fringe first team All NBA, but like ultimately second team. And I think for the most offensively, especially, he has absolutely hit that bar. I mean, how many? Let's even take it down just so we can fiddle with the stats and take out Jokic. How many? He is the X best scorer in the league. Because like if I call it offensive player, Jokic is
Yeah.
like if I just call it scorer, is he second and it's Luka? I mean, honestly, Jokic is probably still like
SGA.
Oh, for sure, third.
But I mean, so this is the thing. I think the argument for Luka being better than Anthony Edwards would be on the playmaking portion. He is scoring more efficiently than Luka Doncic is this season. Like he has a better true shooting percentage than Luka Doncic does this season. And Luka's doing it at a higher volume, and he has the ball all the time. And he's facing probably more aggressive defensive coverages than Ant is because of the fact that he has the ball all the time. So like, I'm not sitting here and saying that Anthony Edwards is obviously clear of Luka Doncic as a scorer, but it is closer than I think it sounds like it should be on its head.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I don't know why SJ is the number one answer, but like I think Ant is in that like Luka tier, and I just think like Ant has a much better roster around him than Luka does, which is weird to say because LeBron is on the Lakers.
But I mean, I also think like, and Luka Doncic is a fantastic basketball player. I think Anthony Edwards plays a manner of basketball that makes it easier to surround him with good players. Like Luka needs very specific players that do very specific things because everything is built around what Luka Doncic does. Like, I don't think Luka Doncic could function with Julius Randle as his second best player.
That'd be rough. That'd be a rough. Luka and Randle on the same team would be rough.
And I don't think Ant and Julius Randle are like a match made in heaven as far as like a star pairing goes. But it's worked now going on 2 years. And so I think Ant's just like general kind of like flexibility and versatility lends itself to him being kind of an easier guy to build around.
Yeah, I would love to do just the crap on Luka pod like that. Do the win horse like that is with the pointing at locker rooms, right? Like it's a fun podcast to do. It really is.
He's a tough watch, man.
Oh god, the especially when like the narratives for the season were him getting back in shape and not complaining to the refs as much, where it seems especially that second part is as bad as it's ever been with him.
Yeah, it's just, for me, it's just the constant bitching and shrugging. Like I can't handle it, man. It's every play. It's just like every play he feels he's been aggrieved by somebody.
Yeah, well, and if we want to tap in back to like 5 years ago, the amount of crap Cat got locally about that sort of thing compared to a guy like, really more nationally, like compared to a guy like Luka, always frustrated me. But that is, for better or worse, someone else's problem now. The other player in this Raptor game, I think, deserves their flowers. I thought Rudy Gobert was just incredible in this game. Obviously, there's a play where not Maxey. I'm mixing up my guards quickly. Quickly got around whoever's guarding him, and like he had a lane to the rim. And if there was like any other defender other than like Rudy or Giannis or Wemby was down there, he would have tried to go and probably successfully hit a layup driving downhill. And he took this floater that screamed to me that was like, oh no, Rudy's there. Can't go to the rim. And then I always laugh at this, and it's basically constant. Rudy gets switched onto a guard or a wing. I noticed it a couple of times. RJ Barrett and Scotty Barnes got switched onto Rudy, and they try to size him up, and they just get like the worst shot you've ever seen in your life, and it just bricks off the rim. Rudy, trust me, I understand all the frustrations with Rudy. I get that he's a tough player to watch in a different sense than like Luka, obviously, in the more of the sense of like, it feels like he's playing with canoe paddles sometimes, his hands, right? But games like that tonight, and it's like you look at it, 18 points, 7 of 8 from the floor, 4 of 6 from the line. Can we continue to shoot 2/3 from the line would be ideal. but 12 rebounds, and he has, I think, the highlight of the night. Other than the you shooting 3-pointers at practice today, other than those, where he gets the offensive rebound, goes behind the back, and shoots it out to Naz for a 3. And Rudy shoots like a 3-point celly to the bench, who is just going absolutely bananas. He leads the team in assists. Has a couple of them were like just nice outlet passes to Ayo, who just bursts to the rim and only takes a dribble or two. So the scoring person has to give Rudy the assist. But I thought it was just like a superb Rudy game. And the one that, like, as much as like they need like Julius to be like borderline all-star Julius for them to win the title or whatever, they need Rudy to look like this in the playoffs. Look like 90% of what he did in that game 5 against the Lakers, and a whole lot less of what the OKC series looked like for him. Because and at this point, it is gonna just be like, because like if you remember last year down the stretch, he was just like awesome, and they were playing tanking teams that had no one to put on Rudy. But like, if they can get this Rudy where it's basically like the Rudy where it's like, we can't take Rudy off the floor. His offense is fine, but his defense is so overly like we just don't care what the opponent is doing. We need Rudy on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, he's having a fantastic season. I mean, I don't think he's as good as he was in the 23-24 season when he won Defensive Player of the Year, but I think this is the second best season he's had in a Wolves uniform, and we're seeing on a less consistent basis, but we're seeing more of the things we saw in 23-24 where he in his, like, Ant has been the story of clutch time this season, right?
For sure.
But Rudy, in kind of his own weird Rudy way, has really dominated the clutch time of a lot of these games when he's given a chance to close, just with like the force that he's playing with and the offensive rebounding. Like, he is just doing a lot of things that are really, really helpful. And I agree. Like, I think they have to just like almost because they kind of have tried to go away from him in the playoffs. At least they did last year a little bit. Like, they kind of pared him down to like 20, 25 minutes a night in the playoffs last season. I almost think they have to just be like, kind of like, we got Rudy Gobert. Like, let's try to be a Rudy Gobert team in the playoffs here, and like really, really try to get him. Like, don't get scared off by matchups and weird things, and try to play him 30, 35 minutes a night. Because especially with this team, like, as he's fantastic, but they just can't guard without him on the floor. Like, it really just all falls apart when he comes out of the game. And maybe Kyle Anderson can help mitigate some of that. But he's just having such a fantastic season. He's felt less problematic offensively to me this season. And I mean, he's leading the league in field goal percentage, but I mean, that's all layups and dunks. We know he can make it when he gets the ball. It's
sure.
just a matter of like, does he catch the ball when it's thrown to him? And the team still doesn't always throw it to him when I think they should throw it to him. But also, it's like, if you think he's going to drop it, like, maybe that's the right decision not to throw it to him. I don't know. He is a weird player. And there's always going to be kind of in the back of your mind, like, one of these days, Rudy Gobert is going to stop being good at basketball, and you don't want to be like left holding the cards when that happens. But he has really kind of beaten Father Time to this point, and is just really having, like I said, not as good as 23-24, but I think as good as those other 2 years on the team. And he's going to make a 3-pointer at some point, and it's going to be glorious.
I went on a trip. I was able to loop in a work trip. I went to Atlanta and Miami when they were down there, and he took, at the end of Miami game, the game was more or less over at this point. He took a 3 in the corner, and because it was just me and Chris Hine there in terms of Wolves media, I have never wanted a basketball shot to go in so bad in my entire life than seeing Rudy hit a 3-pointer on the road when it just would have been me and Chris interviewing him post game. Like, oh, I was like, and I was at Game 7 in Denver. Other than other than shots in that game, like, I wanted that shot to go in so damn bad.
He's getting kind of bold with them. Like, he used to just like in garbage time, like when the garbage time lineup was at the scorer's table, like, you next dead ball, it was over. Like, that was Rudy space to the corner, try a 3 time. He's shooting them in like relatively real scenarios occasionally. Like we were at that Sixers game, he shot one in like the third quarter and like the game was going terribly, but it was like, oh my gosh, Rudy just took a quarter 3 in like real gameplay and it didn't look terrible. And it's like every time he does like a fake dribble handoff and his defender goes into a drop and he's just standing there with no one around him, like on the wing, I'm like, just shoot it, man. It's gonna go in.
It almost, I don't get paid for like the X account or whatever, the engagement. It's like one of those things where it's just like, it'd be like worth, if you are one of those people, like it'd be worth to like pay the $25 parking, because like the engagement on the social media stuff from the night that Rudy hits the 3-pointer is going to be so so amazing. Yeah, I think it's going to happen. Maybe not this season, but like I think it's going to happen, and it's going to be fun. When it happens, I'll clip together all his listed. I'll try to find them all, because I know there's one where he, for whatever reason, the NBA has like one of his missed layups labeled a missed 3 from like his Utah days.
It's crazy too. Like, I don't know if people remember this, but he was so close to making one in his first game with the Wolves. Like he got the ball in a fast break and made like at the buzzer and made like this like super long runner floater thing. And like just his toe was on the line. So it's like we were waiting for this thing for 4 years. We almost got it right away.
It would feel that, like, obviously, like he gets the ball, shot clocks, he whips a 3-quarter thing, goes in. That's one thing. If he gets one where it's like just like a catch and shoot type of deal, that's when it'll feel almost a little unearned if it's like a heave, right?
I don't know. It'll feel earned. It's gonna be a great day.
I do remember back when kind of Ben Simmons and Philly kind of had this, and I was like, come on, Philly fan. Like, it's a funny thing, but like, no, I get it now.
But Ben Simmons is Ben Simmons is a little different because Ben Simmons was like their point guard.
Yeah, that's very true. All right, let's go on to Ayo Dosunmu, who you in your classic way gave him the Naz Reid award, the Naz Reid game for last night. I asked you, does he indeed have the most Naz Reid games per games played at this point?
The Naz Reid game rate. It is
yes.
These are stats we track. Yes, Ayo Dosunmu is currently the all-time leader in Naz Reid game rate at an even 20%. His Naz Reid game last night, he passed the all-time leader, who is Naz Reid, career 18.1% Naz Reid game rate for Naz. So I was gonna have to like keep this pace up because that is like a historical precedent that he's setting. But no, man, like Ayo has been. I think it took a little bit for him to kind of integrate. There was all the weird like Ayo's plus minus is terrible, like for the first handful of games that he played, and so everyone was kind of like, "Is this like one of those we don't understand why it's bad, but it doesn't really work things?" But I think it's just was more kind of integrating. I don't remember who said this, but someone brought up a really good point too, that Ayo had not only is getting traded like jarring for guys, but Ayo had never played for another team. Like he had played his whole career for the Bulls, and had played college in Illinois. Like it was probably very jarring for Ayo to just be like living out of the state of Illinois,
right,
for this period of time. And so now that things have kind of settled, I think we're seeing a lot of the things from Ayo that they were hoping to get. Like he just does really like inspire transition and pace. And I think like you talked about Rudy, like getting some assists, but I think that's something that Rudy like wants, is to be able to pull down a defensive rebound, turn and fire it to Ayo, and then like they're off and running. And I think it's been really good for Bones Highland. I think having Kyle in lineups with them too, as like weirdly a guy that inspires pace, even with like the slow-mo nickname, like he does want to get out and play in transition. And I just think like we're starting to see, like I said, like the 3-point shooting hasn't even been that good yet. And I think that's like, he's probably not going to shoot 45% like he was shooting in Chicago, but he could shoot 40%, and that hasn't quite been there yet. And so I think there's just kind of like higher ceiling to this thing while also, just like I said, we're really starting to see the value here. And I think having 8 guys who you think are going to play in the playoffs is a really, really big deal, because you don't want to get to the playoffs and be like, we got 6 guys. Who else are we going to put out there?
Yeah, and I thought so. He scores 13 points in this Raptors game, and I thought, and to your point, he's plus 25. So any like fretting about his plus minus, he immediately in the last 2 games just absolutely like put those concerns to bed. But he has 13 points, and I clipped together all of his made shot attempts, and it was like the variety of different ways he was scoring was I thought was most impressive. He had a pair of transition buckets, one which was a more or less like a fast a breakout where he gets the steal and leaks out. But one, Rudy passes in the ball. There's like 3 Raptors standing in the paint, and he just goes right at him for a layup. That is just something they have not had. He made a 3. Ant gets doubled, 1 pass away. Ant kicks it to him, and he hits a wide open 3 like that. Obviously, you mentioned the shooting, like that's important. And then the one play which I asked him about post game, which was Kyle Anderson had the ball at like the nail area, the elbow, and you can kind of I thought I saw him slow mo, that is like motion, like either say or like go like cut back door. And so he cuts back door, something that the Bulls do not do very often, which would be like just get a cutting backdoor layup. And I asked him about it post game, and he said that Slow-Mo texted him like the day he signed with Minnesota and like said that backdoor cut is there for you, man. We're gonna find it. And so second game, they've already kind of found that connection. I have to next time, hopefully Slow-Mo's available media wise soon, and I can ask the other end of that interaction. But I just think both, obviously Ayo, the way he can score, and then Kyle Anderson in terms of defense, I thought last 2 games Jaden was in foul trouble last night, and then Rudy was in foul trouble a little bit the game before. And prior to Kyle and certainly Ayo coming here, like that was just one or both of Jaden or Rudy being in foul trouble. It's just like, oh God, just try to survive. And now it's like, Slow-Mo will play a couple extra minutes. We'll be good. We'll be fine. And then the playmaking, which I've already kind of talked about. And then just, I think like the soft factors of leadership, primarily on the court. I think Mike has really stepped up like the off-court leadership since he's been kind of out of the rotation. And then I think Kyle has kind of slid into that on-court, like the leader of like holding guys accountable, or I think he was like yelling out defensive coverages in the game last night, making sure guys were in the right spots. I think both of these guys are going to provide a huge boost bench-wise. But like, think about Slow-Mo. I do think, and I don't know, like the playoff minutes he'll get or the role he'll get. It'll be dependent on matchups. But I think the rest of this regular season, I've been kind of convinced of this, that Slow-Mo is going to be more than just like a token locker room signing at the buyout guys. And there's a reason these buyout guys get cut. But like, I just think he's gonna be a solid player for the rest of the season here. And I don't know if expect is the right word. I feel like Kyle Anderson's going to be on this roster next year too.
Oh yeah, I definitely feel that way too, because I think he's just going to be not very expensive, and that's a guy that they really like clearly, and have a role for him. And I think he's going to be an important playoff player for them, because like we talked at the beginning of the show about kind of their potential first round matchups. And I think all of those are matchups that kind of scream to me that there is a role for Kyle Anderson to play. And I think that's probably less so as you get into later rounds. Like, I don't know how much you need him against in Oklahoma City or San Antonio, but like, he's helpful. Rudy foul trouble insurance in a matchup with Jokic or Şengün. And we look back at 2 years ago, that series that they played against Dallas, and he was by far their best option defensively against Luka. So, I mean, those are the 3 teams they're probably going to play in the first round. They all have a role for Kyle Anderson in my head. And I just think like, yeah, I hope that it's not a situation where I don't think Kyle Anderson needs to play 25 minutes a night.
No.
But if I think there's 2 rotations for Kyle that are 6 to 8 minutes each night, I think that is the ideal role for a guy that I think he's going to help. He's going to increase their size. He's going to hopefully help the defense when Rudy is off the floor. And then the biggest thing, like we talked about, is I think that just like they are now built to run with that second unit, and they have guys that want to run, and they can put out some like pretty crazy good transition lineups that feature Bones, Ayo, Kyle, and Naz, like, and then name your fifth guy, like anyone, like put Jaden in that lineup. Like, man, that is as good a transition lineup as you can like build in the NBA, and a lineup that like functionally makes sense positionally too. So yeah, I'm firmly a believer of generally we get too excited about buyout guys because, like you said, there's a reason these guys get bought out. There's not a lot of instances of guys getting bought out and being like star players in other places. But I think that this is an instance where I think they found a guy who can be helpful to them. And I just think that he fills a lot of gaps that I think it would have been easy to be like, if you're looking for the fatal flaw in the Timberwolves, it's like, what happens if Rudy gets into foul trouble? Are they like high enough IQ? Do they have enough big bodies to throw at Luka Doncic to guard him? Like if Jaden gets into foul trouble. And Kyle answers kind of like all of those questions. Like, do they have enough ball handling? Like, oh, Kyle can be like a ball handler for 10 minutes in a game. Like all of those like little kind of cracks get filled in by Kyle Anderson. And he's just kind of like Chris Finch's like throw out there and fix it. And I also think that having Kyle Anderson is going to, like, don't get me wrong, I love Mike Conley. I think he's going to save Chris Finch from himself a little bit by having Kyle Anderson as his, like, well, everything's going to shit, go check in Kyle. Like, where that has been Mike all year. And Mike has just not been, like, up to the task. Like it's just kind of over for Mike on the court, in my opinion, from what I've seen. And so I think it's good that Chris Finch now has a guy that he trusts at that same level who isn't like totally cooked. And we don't have to be like, oh no, here comes Mike to solve all the problems.
Yeah, Mike in that Clippers game, they ended up winning ugly out in LA. They did throw Mike. I thought it was completely fine from Finch when the game was absolutely like going downhill. He threw in Mike for 3 minutes, and it's almost kind of like it was like punishment, like for the players, for the fans. Like, you guys are playing so bad. I had to play Mike. He did
it against Philly too. He did it against Philly too. And Mike actually played okay against Philly. But like I said, I think just the fact that now Chris Finch's guy who he's going to like throw in there when things are going poorly isn't 6 feet tall and getting targeted on defense.
Yeah. I think you bring up like the flexibility they have with their bench is just on top of just like the increased scoring level they have there. Like, did the theoretical 2K overall rating for the Wolves go up that much when they added Ayo and Slomo? Maybe not, like 1 point for Ayo or whatever. But like, and especially considering like they're really going to, most playoff teams don't play more than 6-7 guys in the playoffs. So like a lot of the Wolves bench depth issues in the playoffs would have kind of been mitigated just by like Naz, Rudy, and Gobert are going to play 100% of the big minutes. And Dante are going to play, like, you know what I'm saying? All of that's going to come down, but like, especially for the regular season or just like the 7th guy in the playoffs. Like if Bones has a game like he did against Denver in the playoffs, he'll play more and Kyle Anderson will play less. If the reverse is true and it kind of looks like how the Toronto game looked, then Kyle Anderson, like you'll just have more, not even just like strategical options, but just like more like, this guy doesn't have it. Let's go somewhere else. Where certainly like there was times where it's like, if Naz doesn't have it, they're going to have 4 total bench points in this whole game.
And I think it's good for those guys to have like a diversity of skill set too. Like we talk about that a lot on our show when we get to like playoff time, is that I think it's good that like you don't want to have just like 4 Bones Highlands that are competing for the 9th man job, because then it's like you're just rolling the dice on which Bones Highland like plays well. You want to be like, is this a game where we need what Bones can bring? Is this a game where we need what Kyle can bring? You know, is this a game where we need what Yon Beranger can bring? Like there's all sorts of different kind of like flavors. Like I doubt Terrence Shannon Jr. or Jalen Clark like work their way back into an opportunity this season, but those are also unique skill sets comparatively. And like, who knows? Terrence Shannon Jr. has killed it in his career when they've played Oklahoma City. Like his like desire to get out and transition has been a unique counter for like their pressure defense. So maybe they do get into a series against Oklahoma City in a conference finals or a second round, and things aren't going well in game 5 and Chris Finch just rolls the dice and Terrence Shannon Jr. Like I think it's good when the guys that are out of your rotation are different types of players, so you can plug different holes with them rather than just being like I said, like 4 of the same guy, but a different guy, basically.
Yeah, just trying to like throw whatever you can at the wall to see what sticks. Now they have an actual bench rotation that can go up against any team in the league. All right. Anything to plug, Brandon? I know you guys had your pod Crunch Where's No Pants had a fundraiser out there at Falling Knife. So anything to plug Wolves wise or anything you got?
Yeah. So yeah, you can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Brandon Beck 4. You can follow our pod account at No Pants Crunch on Twitter and Blue Sky as well. And then, like you said, we went and helped out at Falling Knife on Saturday last weekend when the Wolves played the Nuggets to help raise money for. I'm sure everyone who's listening to this knows JC Strobel's story, but he's the man behind the Naz Reid tattoos. And 3 months ago, they found a brain tumor in his head, and he had emergency brain surgery. And so he is a self-employed tattoo artist. He does not have like the necessary medical coverage to handle like this large influx of bills. They've got 2 kids. And just like he's a super awesome guy, really, really important member of our Wolves community. And they are still working at reaching his fundraising goal on there. So, you can go find the link to his GoFundMe. It's on my page. You just got to scroll a few tweets back. And if you want to donate something, it would be greatly, greatly appreciated. We're really, really close to their goal. I think it's $75,000. I think they're at like 71,000 right now. So every little bit helps to help out. Like I said, just a really, really important member of our Wolves community to get JC and his family. Like I said, they've got medical bills and just like general, like they need they need help with the stable income stuff because they got 2 kids. JC can't work right now because he's still recovering. So yeah, please, if it's on your heart, help out.
Absolutely. Yeah. Great cause. If you have the financial means to do that, please help out. Thank you, Brandon, for coming on the pod. I chatted briefly with Dane just because I listened to your guys' pod with him, and we were just kind of laughing at the stark difference between your guys' pod and then when I drag you over here is I always say your guys' podcast is the best version of insanity. And Dane agreed with me that like he uses like sometimes I just sit back and listen to these guys like.
Yeah, that's all. It's all jolly. This is the only place when I go on as a guest on other pods, that's the only place I can actually talk about basketball without worrying about Jolly just interrupting me to ask about some vaguely sexual innuendo thing I might have said.
Yeah, so I guess I'm glad I can be that reprieve for you, and you can actually give your opinions without me without being interrupted every 2 seconds by nonsense. Wonderful nonsense.
Exactly. Yeah, we have a good time.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on. Thank you everyone for listening. Leo and I will be back early next week. Yeah, thanks for everyone for listening. Go Wolves.
Ayo!